Hey guys, my name is Israel Favela here with Clearview Realty in El Paso, Texas, and I'm excited to bring a good friend of mine, Monica Villalobos, who's a real estate agent out there in Anaheim, California, and also neighboring cities. And one of the reasons why I bring her on here is because I've had people reach out to me looking for an agent in that area. And hands down, Monica is just an amazing agent out there. I've had an opportunity for us to meet at a real estate conference, and we've kept in touch since then. And it turns out that we have the same real estate coach. But one of the things that I just appreciate about Monica is just her infectious and outgoing personality. She always has a smile on her face, but you can tell that she will go at bat for her clients whenever it's necessary. And another thing that I appreciate about Monica is the content and the videos that she puts out on her social media. You can tell that she's really genuinely interested in wanting to put her clients first by educating them and informing them about the real estate process. But I want to give her an opportunity to introduce herself. So Monica, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, first of all, that was a great introduction. So thank you so much. I'm like blushing. But yeah, so I'm Monica Villalobos. I'm based here in beautiful, sunny Anaheim, California. I'm repping my Disneyland t-shirt today.
Nice.
So yeah. So when you think Anaheim, Disneyland. So I'm in Orange County. I specialize in Orange County and North Orange County specifically, and Anaheim. But you know, here it's kind of like people are going all over the place. So I've kind of been pushed into parts of LA, parts of Corona, inland a little bit. So just, you know, a little more away from the coast. So kind of go all over. Anaheim's pretty centrally located to where you need to be. So that's why I love where I live. But I've been in the business for 7 years now. It's actually my 7-year anniversary next month.
Oh, congratulations.
And thank you. And I must say that went by very quickly. But I absolutely love what I do. First of all, it's like every day is completely different. And one of the reasons I got in the business was because I had a hard time buying my first home. Okay. And I thought there was a better way to do it and to be able to buy and really to be educated in the process. And that's something that I didn't get.
Right.
And so helping first-time buyers was kind of my thing. And so I would say probably about 50% of my buyers are first-time buyers. I help a lot of them. And then even in this crazy seller's market, I'm helping a lot of buyers that are putting 3 to 5% down. And it's totally still possible in this market to win an offer when you're partnered with the right agent, of course.
Right.
But I feel like home ownership is just such an amazing thing. And it was always a goal for me to be a homeowner as young as possible. And I'm so glad that I did it. So I just am so grateful and honored that I get to help those first-time buyers have their investment and then them start building their wealth.
Right.
So,
awesome. Yeah, and it's crazy that you said that about your experience in buying a home and you felt like there could be something better. I do remember that when I first purchased my home, I was just, we see this day in, day out, so it's easy for us now. But when you're buying a home for the first time, there's just so many things that can come up, and you're relying on that real estate agent to explain it to you thoroughly. But I'm glad that you're coming in with that background because you really empathize with, especially with new buyers as well. So, but I wanted to talk to you about, your market in general, just like some basic things, I know right now, pretty much across the nation, we're in a seller's market, but how crazy is it over there in California?
So just in the past year, here in Orange County, our appreciation we've seen about 20% appreciation.
Okay.
So, and we saw about the same from 2020 to 2021. So it's huge. So if you bought in 2020, you are sitting pretty on equity. It's a very hot seller's market even still now. So of course, interest rates are going up all over, which, yeah, of course that's going to affect the market, but we have such a lack of inventory and so many people still looking to buy that it hasn't really slowed anything down. Basically, once we list a home, I typically will list a home on a Wednesday. We do the showings, open houses on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. maybe do a few more appointments in between that. And we've got offers by Sunday night, and not just one or two, it's several. And so I would say, since interest rates have gone up, instead of having 20 offers, it's maybe like 15.
Right.
But it's still very competitive, and people are putting in very, very competitive offers. So yeah.
Yeah. So when you were saying about how the homes are not sitting in the market very long, how many days would you say is an average day on the market?
So the average for Orange County is 8 days.
Wow. Okay.
8 days on market. But I mean, there's definitely homes that do sit on the market longer, but the reason they sit on the market longer is because they're overpriced, or they need a lot of work, an unreasonable seller. Those are kind of the reasons, because really no property should be sitting on the market for longer than that.
Right. And that was a point that I wanted to bring up is even though it is a seller's market, sellers can still shoot themselves in the foot in it's sitting in the market, especially in this one, because it can raise red flags immediately if it sits longer than the 8 days, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there's, I don't know if you have these in your market, but we had, the big conglomerates buy a bunch of properties off market and put them on for resale. So those companies started buying in the neighborhood that I sell in a lot, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
And there are homes that sit on the market forever, because what they do is they buy way too high and they have to sell even higher. So they're like 100,000 overpriced, and they just sit on the market.
Got it. Okay.
So and that's their business model, and they can do that. So unfortunately, that's also another part of the competition, is these big conglomerates buying homes.
Got it.
Because we're a big city.
Yeah. What's your average price point over there?
So for me, my average, remember, I'm doing entry-level buyers, and even so, it's still it's very high. So 800,000 is my average. For Orange County, the median home price is $1,025,000.
Wow.
It's gone up.
In comparison to our market over here in El Paso, the average sales price is $225,000.
Gosh.
Yeah. And it's funny because whenever we have a listing, I've seen some posts wherever they compare it to California, like what this home would go for in California. And yeah, it's just it's not even half of what you guys are dealing with. So yeah, the market is definitely crazy over there.
And I will say that 800,000 mark is going to be a condo.
Oh, okay. Wow. Really? Okay. Yeah. Over here, I think the price per square foot is like, let's say like between 115 to like 140. And yeah. So
that's amazing. It
is. We've actually had people from California and even Colorado and other cities coming over here to El Paso. But I think where they get caught is the property taxes, because it's around like 3% or a little bit higher.
Oh, okay.
Which adds up, and it's because Texas doesn't have any, because when we file our taxes, there's no state taxes, but they get that from the property taxes. So
that makes sense. I'm actually curious, since, people leave California because it's so much more affordable in other states, and Texas being one of those. What's one reason that someone would move to El Paso?
I've been here my whole life, and I feel like it's more of a friendly, family-oriented environment. And it's not like a tourist place whatsoever. I mean, there's some things that you can enjoy, like going to Mexico, or just kind of enjoying the history. Every town has its own history, but I feel like at the end of the day, I feel like it's a very family-oriented, and then the cost of living is super low compared to other cities. So I feel like those are two main factors in moving over here. Yeah.
People ask, where should I move?
Right. Exactly. Yep.
You want a $200,000 house, El Paso?
Exactly. Yeah.
By 3, 4.
Yeah. Monica, I wanted to ask you, so, I mean, you've been in the business for 7 years, and you said that you like to help out your buyers, first-time home buyers a lot. What are some challenges that you've encountered for buyers whenever you're in the mix?
Let me tell you, appraisal is the biggest challenge, I will tell you. So especially with the low down payment buyers. So appraisal. Okay. Properties are going way over asking. For really good properties that are just super dialed in, really nicely remodeled, we're seeing those go 5-10% over asking sometimes. Okay. I mean, that's just how it is, because they're getting 15 to 20 offers. So basically in order to win, you have to have some kind of guarantee that you'll pay the difference in appraisal. So what sellers like to see is that you have extra money in your account to pay a difference. We kind of have an idea, obviously, what the home would appraise for.
Yeah.
And we just kind of give that to our buyers, and the sellers already know it on their end. So they want to see, do we have that much money? So it's appraisal. Okay. So that is definitely huge. Definitely still one buyers, into escrow with the appraisal contingency still in place.
Right.
But most sellers don't want that. So they're looking for you to remove that contingency completely.
Wow.
So yeah, depending on the buyer's situation, if they can do that, that's something that we'll do. If they can't, we work around it. We figure out other ways. Mm-hmm. So for example, I work with a lender specifically who has the most solid pre-approval. He can get the appraisal done within 7 days. Okay. We can put an offer in with 0 loan contingency. And then, of course, inspection-wise, we just try to shorten that as quickly as possible. I never recommend that my buyers remove the inspection contingency. But in all honesty, some offers do come in completely without any contingencies. I'm not a fan of those. I think there's too much liability, too much risk for both sides. Right. But it does happen.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that's pretty similar to what's happening over here, but not to the extent that you all are doing it. We do partial waivers where they'll say that they'll pay an X amount of the gap, of an appraisal gap.
Yeah.
But I know that you all, there's a bunch of offers where we're just willing to pay the whole entire gap, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I think one of the challenges is that there are so many buyers that just have gobs of money. Like, it is surprising. Even some first-time buyers, I'm like, how did you save that much money? Good for you. Like, I'm impressed. But, there's a lot of move-up buyers as well. And so they're selling and they have all this equity. So they've got hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're putting down. So sometimes it's hard to compete with someone that has all that money, because if you're putting 50% down, you might not even have to get an appraisal done, and you qualify for the waiver, so that it's just completely null and void.
Oh, okay. And how effective would you say a love letter? Do you recommend that? Has that ever been an instance in which that's been a determining factor?
Oh my gosh, yes. I love love letters. I always recommend that my buyers do them, but there are some listing agents, some companies that don't allow them. They won't present them to the sellers. So if they do allow it, then I tell my buyers, yes, just do it. It's not going to hurt you. Right. Obviously, we've just got to be very vague with what we put, because we've got to comply with fair housing. Right. So I put a picture of your dog.
That's true.
So, but yeah, I definitely think that those can help, and they have been the deciding factor when it's between a couple of winning offers.
Got it.
So definitely that.
Yeah. And I noticed that you've had a couple listings that you've had recently done, right? And it seems like open houses and all that stuff is just very, very popular there. But what are some challenges that you've encountered with your sellers in listing their property in this market?
So I would say with the sellers, I think they kind of feel bad when, these other 15 offers aren't getting accepted, because they're getting amazing offers. And at the end of the day, it's hard to choose which one is actually the best. So obviously that's where we come into play, and we give our best advice on who to choose and who's going to be the most solid. So I would definitely say just trying to pick the best one, because sometimes you've got 2 to 3 that are like right at the same, and they just seem to make great sense. And it's just kind of like, okay, who do I pick?
Right. Yeah.
So,
and just to kind of add on to that, because I know that right now sometimes there's a misconception with people that you just put your home on the market and it sells right away. So people are more inclined not wanting to use an agent. But in my experience and what I've seen is that it's more than just trying to figure out who's going to net you the most, because sometimes, depending on what kind of loan or what they put on the terms, sometimes you can tell which one's going to be more smooth transaction. And sometimes your clients want that instead of just netting the most. Have you ever encountered where they just kind of, yes, this is the most I can net, but I'm actually going to go with this one because this is the one I feel is going to be a smooth transition?
Definitely. And that's super important, figuring out what's going to be most important for them. So, like, I had one in particular where they were also buying, and they didn't want to sell contingent upon finding a replacement property. So they just wanted to sell and then have enough time to rent back afterwards. So that's another thing we can add to offers to make them look better for a buyer's side. Just
Right.
up there. So the offer they ended up choosing was lower because the buyer was offering them 4 months to stay in the home after closing.
Okay.
And because of how competitive it is here, that made them feel so much more at ease and less stressed out. So for them, that was more important. And
Right.
so that's kind of what I like to find out with my sellers. You know, what is it that they're looking for? Because then when I'm talking to the agents who are asking me questions on what the seller needs, I can tell them exactly what they need.
Right. That's good that you point that out, because I know that there's been people, especially here, and I'm pretty sure over there in California, that they're deterred from selling their home. They do want to sell it, but finding another property is difficult. So giving or finding a buyer that's willing to give them that space, that time frame to search for another home is super important. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah, and I would definitely say that's definitely a challenge for the sellers if they are looking to buy another home here in Orange County or here just in Southern California. But I definitely have had a lot of clients that have sold here and took their equity out of state.
Wow. Okay.
So
you can bring it here to El Paso if they'd like.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah.
Talk to Israel.
Right. Exactly. Monica, the last question that I want to ask you is, where can people find you if they're looking to buy, sell, or invest?
Well, at Disneyland.
You're going to be a good tour guide, no? I mean, I've seen you that you go to Disneyland pretty frequently.
Oh yeah, I go there at least once a month. I'm there all the time, or just anywhere in Anaheim, really.
Right.
I would say a lot of people just find me on Instagram. It's _Mon_Bon_. Just type in Mon Bon. I'm holding an orange. It's great.
I'll put it under so that they can get the.
Yeah. Or you could just text me. My best text is going to be 949-514-8632. And that goes directly to me. So either one.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this video and kind of explaining to us the market and some of the challenges that you have with the buyers and sellers and the solutions as well. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I had fun. Thank you for having me.